Now, WJZ's Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
And welcome into Purple Connection. I'm Alex Glaze. Week 1 is in the books for the Ravens, a devastating loss to open the season. We're going to break it all down with you tonight. Here joining me, we have Grace Grill, of course. We are also welcoming in Tim Barbalace of 105.7 The Fan and Kyle Goon of the Baltimore Banner. Guys, how are we feeling?
Pretty good, but after doing 4 hours hearing from the fans who are very upset right now, it's a lot to get into.
Yeah, a lot of places where we could start tonight. I guess, Kyle, let's start with the good. The first half, I mean, this Ravens offense was absolutely humming. Looked like everything we were expecting this team to be early on.
Yeah, I mean, you see the run game and just how devastating it was last night. Obviously, Derrick Henry doesn't get to hit people in preseason, but we get to see that early on, and he was week one's leading rusher, and it's everything you expect. But then, obviously, it went pretty far south, pretty quick in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, it went pretty south. I mean, let's just get right to it. Let's talk about that fourth quarter, Grace. That's all anyone is talking about right now. I mean, just what stood out to you, and when did you know things were maybe heading in the wrong direction last night?
I'm not going to lie. I did not like the way that they started the game, to be honest with you. I mean, yes, they got it back together, but I'm sitting there. All I could think about, if you are a WJZ watcher and you watched our Purple Friday shows and you watched Purple Pregame, I said this game should not be this close, but I think it's going to come down to a field goal. However, I thought it was going to be a Tyler Loop coming out party. Turns out it was that bright prediction just flipped to the other side. So I think that's what made it so much more devastating. And to blow a lead like that, I mean, just watching the collapse in the fourth quarter, it's just like your only thought is, how did we get here?
Yeah, Tim, this is the first team to lose after scoring 40 or more points and having 235 rushing yards in a game. Just, I mean, an unfathomable loss for the Ravens last night.
It was really baffling just seeing it, because this offseason, all we were talking about is how loaded this secondary is. It's all first-round picks there. Zach Orr, his second year as defensive coordinator of the Ravens, they got off to a brutal start last year. The first 10 games of the season, the defense, it was one-way traffic against them, where you thought that they would be able to get off to more of a hot start. And in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen just tore them up. He was 17 of 22 passing for over 250 yards, and he did everything that he wanted against him. And there was just zero pass rush. Jair Alexander, he didn't look right either. It was just a collapse by the defense.
Yeah, you're talking about Josh Allen. He almost threw for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. Big key, though, no turnovers. He was definitely the difference in this game. And John Harbaugh spoke about how the game plan kind of went south once Josh Allen just started being Josh Allen.
We understand Josh Allen. We've played him quite a few times. We had a little more success here at our place last year. The last 2 times there, not quite as much, but we had a plan, and we just didn't get it done. We weren't able to execute. We couldn't keep him in the pocket. That was a big part of the plan, would be to keep him in the pocket. We weren't able to do that. That's probably the number one disappointment for me.
I'm trying not to go full, overreaction here, understanding it is week 1, but Grace, I want to start with you. Just when you look at this game, obviously a devastating 41-40 loss, just what is your main takeaway from the game?
It's stupid stuff. And again, I know it's week 1, but this team has all the tools it needs. It had all the tools last year to make us to believe that they could make it to that last game. And I mean, it's not like they didn't, I understand what Harbaugh's saying there, and that they didn't execute that plan to win the game, but it's not like they couldn't execute. I mean, Derrick Henry got his, Zay Flowers got his. We saw an unbelievable play from DeAndre Hopkins. I think he only had a couple touches in that whole game. So it's not like they didn't have the big plays or the playmakers. It just came down to the stupid stuff, which hurt them in January, and you saw it there again last night.
Yeah, Kyle, your big takeaway.
It's just repetitive. I mean, every fan knows what this kind of loss is, even though it's the worst, choke double-digit lead of the Lamar Jackson era. This has happened in 2022 with Miami. This has happened in 2023 with the Colts. This has happened last year with the Raiders. I mean, it's just formulaic that even though the Ravens are a top rushing offense every single year, they find a way to blow one of these games. And this one, obviously, you give last year's MVP enough chances and let him back in the game. Well, yeah, of course he's going to find a way to hurt you and find a way to beat you. So even though it seems improbable, everyone who has watched the Ravens for the last 5 years has seen a version of this game before already.
Yeah, guys, and I think today also everyone is kind of looking to point the finger, right? Last night, Derrick Henry pointed the finger at himself. Obviously that fumble was huge, and that probably was the turning point in this game. But, I mean, I have to tell you, when it really comes down to it, last night came down to one decision for me, and it was on 4th and 3, 96 seconds on the clock. The Ravens are holding on to a 2-point lead, and John Harbaugh decides to punt. I mean, if you're – listen, for all the mistakes, all the things that went wrong, the Ravens were still winning that game. They had a chance to close it out. And you take the ball out of the hands of the 2-time MVP. You take the ball out of the hands of the guy who, almost ran for 2,000 yards last year. 2 Hall of Famers, no doubt Hall of Famers. All off season we heard about, how vengeance will be on this team's mind, how, they want to get that bad taste out of their mouth. And then, I'm sorry, just to go and the decision to punt in that spot and put the ball back in Josh Allen's hands after he's having the night he has. I mean, it's just, there's no words for that. And I just think John Harbaugh deserves, a lot of the blame for this loss.
Well, unfortunately, the narrative, it exists where the Ravens, they've blown more leads, second half leads of 9 points or more than anybody in football going back to 2022. They've blown 6 of those occasions. The next closest team is 2. And not having that killer instinct, and you can go back to a game against the Chiefs in 2021 where it was a very similar situation. It was a shootout. Ravens ended up winning that game by a point or 2 in the mid-30s. They ended up going for it on a 4th and 1, 4th and 2 situation, called Lamar Jackson's number. He ended up getting it. Now, the other factor is Lamar was saying he was dealing with cramps, but you call a timeout there and then
he was dealing with cramps, but on that 3rd down play, he got hit really hard by Ed Oliver. I've never seen Lamar take that kind of hit. But still, you have your timeouts. Take a timeout, you go and you win the game. You have 2 of the best players in this game. You have the best offense in this game, and you need 3 yards. This offense was averaging more than 8 yards per play. I mean, it's just inexcusable to me to not put the ball in Lamar's hands.
And almost the bigger crime there is giving the ball back to Josh Allen. Yep. As soon as they get the ball back, I mentioned to Karita Parks, one of the other media members who was in Buffalo last night, I was like, Buffalo's going to win this game. And Buffalo is going to win this game. I've seen Josh Allen play the last 10 minutes, and they're going to win this game. I mean, he was so red hot, and giving him the chance to be a hero, which we know Josh Allen is capable of being. There's a lot that went in the decision that I didn't like, and that was certainly one of the things that I didn't like.
Josh Allen just incredible in the 4th quarter. 251 passing yards, 3 total touchdowns. And, of course, delivering when his team needed it most. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue to break down this game, and we're going to play a game, What's the Word? Stay with us. More Purple Connection when we come back.
The Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. This is the Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
And welcome back to Purple Connection. It's time for What's the Word? I'm going to throw out a phrase and you guys fill in the blank. Grace, I'm going to start with you. Derrick Henry, an incredible night. Rushed for almost 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, but did have that fumble. So Derrick Henry's night was blank.
I'm going to say humbling, right? Like King Henry, anybody who totes that self-proclaimed name or whatever, like you got to live up to it, and he has, right? Like we know he is the number 1, number 2, arguably the best back in the league. I said, but like even the best fall, and sometimes you just like to me, like that's not a mistake he makes often, to his credit. But I think to come out there in game 1, like that was a really humbling moment, because it was a key turning point in that game.
Yeah, Tim, Derrick Henry's night.
I'm going to skew more positive with Derrick Henry. It's freakish. Like this guy he's a Madden created player. Guys aren't supposed to be that big and run away from the opposing secondary. And age 31 season, what was the knock last year when he was coming to Baltimore? Oh, he's washed, he's done. All he did was run for over 1,900 yards last year, the most rushing yards in NFL history by an age 30 running back or more. And for him to have that type of night with just chunk run after chunk run after chunk run, he was a monster. Now, the fumble, of course, it was a huge part of the game, absolutely. But that's King Henry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kyle, I'm going to ask you about DeAndre Hopkins, one of the Ravens' big offseason acquisitions. Obviously had that incredible catch. Just 2 targets, but he made 2 catches, 35 yards and a touchdown. Not a bad debut for DeAndre Hopkins. But that one-handed touchdown catch was what?
I would say defiant. I would say, we saw a little bit of DeAndre sniping online with some folks who were calling him washed. And then last night in the locker room, he said, yeah, I guess that's what washed receivers do. So I think even though he kind of said, I don't really care about making a touchdown catch, we're going to lose. I think last night that one-handed grab was a little bit about proving to himself that he's not the washed-up receiver that people say he's been all offseason.
Yeah, I'm going to say handsy. I mean, I've never seen someone just grab like the tip of the ball with. It looked like it was just like in his fingertips.
It was incredible.
It was incredible. I'd never seen anything like that. And it's like he almost set the DB up for it just to be like, oh, yep, here we go, just like that. Almost like in Space Jam when Michael Jordan's like extending for that last dunk. That's what that kind of reminded me.
But that's
of,
what is even more frustrating about this is that you have a guy like Zay Flowers who can come up and make all the chunk plays that you need from the receiver corps, but then you can throw in a guy like DeAndre Hopkins who can just come in and make, that's not a regular catch, who can just come in and make those big plays and have it not be Zay. That's why it's so frustrating because they have all these playmakers.
Yeah, certainly a big moment. All right, last one for us, guys. The biggest concern heading into week 2. Tim, I'm going to start with you.
I'm going to go with the pass rush, and the pass rush has been a concern for me all offseason heading in, where it was non-existent last night. And the Bills, they have a really good offensive line, absolutely, but you're going to face really good offensive lines in January when you're in the playoffs. And with Joe Flacco, we know he's got the arm, we know he's going to sling it. This is his return to M&T Bank Stadium, first time since 2018 after the Ravens traded him following that season. If they aren't able to get after Joe Flacco, who is not nearly as mobile as Josh Allen, it could be trouble.
Grace?
I'm going to say O-line. I mean, they came out shaky, and then obviously we talked about the big moment was Lamar taking that hit that he did. I mean, that's another turning point in this game, that if you don't feel he was hit hard enough that you don't feel that your quarterback, who just so happens to be as great as Lamar Jackson, can't go in and create a game-winning drive, that doesn't give you a lot of confidence. So that's a big concern for me.
All right, Kyle, so we got defensive line, we got offensive line. What do you say?
I like Tim's answer, but I'm going to go spin it up a little bit and say turnover margin. And if you watched the game yesterday, there was, even though Derrick Henry's fumble was the big turnover, there were a couple other opportunities where the Ravens lost the ball, or Kyle Hamilton's lateral back on the 2-point conversion. Just there were a bunch of opportunities that the Ravens made where they could have really gotten down in the turnover margin. If you remember Cleveland last year, that was the game where it just seemed like the turnover would not come. I believe Kyle Hamilton dropped an interception in that game. They got to win on the turnover margin, and they got to take care of the football. And I thought yesterday was just seeing how far they still have to go in that respect.
Oh, you're saying you believe Kyle Hamilton dropped an interception? I'll never forget that one. I mean, it looked like Jameis was throwing that one right to him, and that would have sealed the game. And then on the opening drive, Malachi Starks dropped that interception too. So turnover margin definitely big. I'm going to be a little more ambiguous. I'm going to say heart and mind. That's my biggest concern. I mean, if you look at how last season went, right, how they started, tough loss in Kansas City. They come back here. Everyone's thinking that it's a must-win game, but there's no way they lose to the Raiders, right? There's no way. This kind of feels very similar, right? A tough, heartbreaking loss in Buffalo. There's no way Joe Flacco comes here and beats this Ravens team, right? There's no way. It just feels very similar, and just the way that some of the guys were talking, at least, I mean, obviously I know it's a crushing loss, but I'm wondering where this team is at mentally, especially. It kind of feels like here we go again kind of moment, guys.
Don't you feel like that's kind of leadership, though? I would be the first to argue last year with the MVP race with Josh Allen, right? If we were going off numbers, Lamar Jackson should have ran away with that MVP award. But here's the difference of Lamar and Josh Allen is that Josh Allen can will his team to win in those situations where I don't know that we've seen that proven by Lamar Jackson yet. And sometimes, especially at the quarterback position, that's what it takes.
Well, we got to go to break, but when we come back, we are going to certainly talk more about that. We're going to take a look around the league as well. We got Joe Flacco coming to Baltimore. Obviously, Joe Flacco still getting it done at 40 years old. We'll be back with more Purple Connection after this.
The Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. And now the League Checkup, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. Care bravely.
And welcome back to Purple Connection. It's time for a league checkup. And guys, a crazy week one to start the season. And of course, we got to start with the big story. I mean, we're talking a lot about last night's game, but Aaron Rodgers, it looks like the Steelers might have found a quarterback.
I was very surprised by that performance, I will admit. And doing it with no run game, and their offensive line was kind of sketchy as well throughout that one. But Rodgers looked the part. Now, that defense, though, it looked much like the end of last year during that 5-game skid where they were just getting ran over. Breece Hall, he ended up going for over 100 yards. And I thought Justin Fields had a really good game against that defense.
My fantasy quarterback on the bench, though. But, won't make that mistake again.
I will just say, look, some guys take different things to motivate them, and I think Aaron Rodgers had a ton of motivation going into game one. So I would like to see a little bit more out of what comes next. But you're playing the Jets, I don't think it took much to motivate him yesterday.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't shy about that either. Also, Kyle, Micah Parsons, how about this? Gets a sack in his debut with the Packers. He looked great out there.
Who could have imagined? Who could have imagined that one of the top 3 defensive players in the whole NFL could move to a new team, fight through an injury, and still make an impact? I can't believe it. I just don't. I don't know. Maybe Jerry Jones should just put on the big board in the dome just a giant sign, yard sale, taking guys for cheap. Pick whoever you want. You want Prescott, you want Lamb, go take them. We're giving them away.
This is such a girl comment. I realize this, but I don't know. The colors just don't fit with him in my mind for some reason. Micah Parsons and I are from the same hometown, so I'm used to seeing him in certain different colors, and I don't know. It just first time seeing him in that uniform, I was like, oh, that's odd.
Hey, Packers fans were loving seeing him in those colors. Guys, the other big story, obviously, when we're talking about the AFC, the Chiefs dropped their season opener in Brazil to the Chargers. And listen, Justin Herbert, how about that? Tearing it up in week one.
That was a really impressive performance.
That Chiefs defense was,
it was rough, and Justin Herbert was carving them up. But similar to kind of the Ravens, the Chargers, they have their own verb, chargering, where they're choking games away, and you kept waiting for the Chiefs to eventually take that lead, but they didn't. And to pick up that win over Kansas City, start 1-0, the rest of the AFC West is 1-0 besides Kansas City. That's massive, and I think that's going to be big for the Chargers' psyche. And Kansas City, you're welcoming in the Super Bowl champs for week 2 in the Eagles.
Yeah, and then, of course, that last note, I don't know if you guys saw it on the full screen, Joe Flacco doesn't quite get it done, but he almost gets it done against the Bengals. I mean, we know with this Bengals defense, they got a lot of question marks, but Joe Flacco throws for 290 and a touchdown. Had a couple interceptions, but, might have bounced off a couple of his receivers' hands, so I don't know how much of that's on him. But Joe Flacco getting it done at 40 years old. Coming to Baltimore next week, guys.
I have it on record that Joe Flacco is the 40-year-old. Between him and Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco is the 40-year-old I would want for the whole season. They didn't play out in week 1, but let's watch it.
I actually don't know how I feel about that, because I think we've seen. Well, you know what? I'll go with you, Kyle. I like that. I like Joe Flacco being the 40-year-old to lead the team. Leadership qualities, Super Bowl champion.
You should ask the PR teams.
Yeah.
Which one they would prefer.
Well, we're going to talk more about Joe Flacco when we come back. We're going to wrap up the show after this. We have more Purple Connection. Stay with us.
The Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. And now, Game Day Advice, brought to you by Rice Law. For the best advice, call Rice.
And welcome back to Purple Connection. Let's wrap up the show with some game day advice. And guys, we got Joe Flacco coming to town. We're going to keep this one pretty simple. Don't let Flacco fool you. He's 40 years old. but he was dealing a little bit in week 1. 290 passing yards, got a touchdown, entering his 18th NFL season. Comeback player of the year a couple years ago. I mean, Flacco can still play.
He can still play, but look, we saw it last week, even though some of it was his receiver's fault with those balls going off off their hands. But you got to get turnovers in this game. It's been such a point of emphasis all off season long. John Harbaugh talking about it being intentional, about trying to force turnovers. Ravens only had 17 turnovers last year, had 0 in the season opener. Joe Flacco is going to give you opportunities to get interceptions. You got to catch them.
This is the other thing that's dangerous about losing a game like they did last night, is that it shows other teams, like other teams that might look at you line in line and just say, okay, the Ravens are clearly a better stacked team, but you give other teams like the Browns the opportunity to say, hey, they're still beatable even when they put up 40 points. That's the danger of a game like last night.
And Kyle, we're sitting here talking about the pass rush. I mean, listen, if you can't get to Joe Flacco, I mean, then we got some problems. I'm not quite ready to hit the panic button just yet, but next week then there'll be some concern.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody in the pass rush, I think, has talked about it. I mean, I kind of want to see a Dafe Owe. I kind of want to see Kyle Van Noy. These guys are leaders on the team. Prove it. Show that you can get one of the oldest quarterbacks in the league who's not famous for being mobile. No offense, Joe. I want Joe to retire intact, but I think if you're the Ravens, you want to see him on the ground next week and the pass rush actually doing its job.
Absolutely. All right. Well, on that note, we do want to bring up our question of the week that we're asking you the fans, to chime into. And listen, we're bringing up happy memories, right? Joe Flacco's return into Baltimore. So with that, what is your lasting memory of Joe Flacco in a Ravens uniform? And you can reply to our Twitter handle, or we're also going to put this question on the WJZ Facebook page. And the best answers are going to be on with us on Sunday, Purple Pregame. So a lot of Flacco memories to choose from, guys. You got the Super Bowl, Mile High Miracle. I mean, Joe made some memories here in Baltimore.
I think the easiest answer is definitely that 2012 playoff run, right? You beat the Colts and then head to Denver to take on Peyton Manning. That was one of the greatest games I've ever seen in my life. The double overtime, the Mile High Miracle. You had long touchdowns. You had special teams touchdowns, defensive touchdowns. And then to go back to New England, where you lost the AFC Championship the year prior, win there, and then the Super Bowl with the lights going out, Beyonce, it's got to be the Super Bowl run.
Here's the question, Kyle. I'm going to start with you. Does Flacco get a video tribute on Sunday?
Absolutely. And he deserves it. This guy, I mean, we're going to have a highlight reel with him having confetti saying, I'm going to Disney World, you know? I mean, and he deserves it. I mean, he was a guy who played in one of the best quarterback eras. I mean, against some of the best guys. I mean, even in his own division. Big Ben, some of those battles over the years. He won big games. He won a Super Bowl ring. He lived up to, I think, what Baltimore could have reasonably expected for him coming out of Delaware. Absolutely, he deserves a highlight reel.
Yeah, and Grace, I know that we're going to see a lot of number 5 jerseys on Sunday as well. This city loves Joe Flacco.
I would hope so. I mean, anytime, especially, I always go back to the quarterback position specifically, but just any person or player that has led a team like that to a Super Bowl, I think deserves that. But I mean, that's what you think of. Like when you think Ravens, okay, you think the greats on defense, and historically they've been great on defense, but that is the quarterback that won them the championship, and I think that's what everybody is trying to chase, and he gave that to them, so he absolutely deserves that tribute, and I hope they do right by him on Sunday. I'm sure they will.
Tim, last one for you, because we were talking Mount Rushmores a little bit before the show. Where does Joe Flacco make the Ravens Mount Rushmore?
I mean, you're going Ray, Ed,
Ogden.
I mean, they're all the Hall of Famers right there.
You got one more spot? You got one more spot? You got one more spot?
That's really tough.
That's tough on the spot, man. I don't know if Joe. It's close, man. It's close.
The hard thing is the championship,
yeah.
Right? Like the championship, I think puts him ahead, but I think that's really hard to put him on after so many greats.
Kyle, I saw some faces down there. Is Joe making the Ravens Mount Rushmore?
It's tough. I mean, if you're gonna say who's the best quarterback to play for this team, I still have to say Lamar Jackson. I think Joe had clearly the best run. And we're talking about the 2012 run. He looked like the best quarterback in the NFL during that run. But Lamar Jackson's a 2-time MVP, should be 3-time MVP. Even though he needs that championship piece, it's hard for me to vote Joe over Lamar.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this week's Purple Connection. I'm Alex Glaze alongside Grace Grill, Tim Barbalace, and Kyle Goon. We do the show every Monday to wrap up the week. And guys, we are now flushing that week 1 loss, and we are on to the Browns, right? We agree? All right. We're on to Cleveland. We'll be back next week.